In the heart of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. Will forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days.
Well, hey there, folks. I'm Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Yeah, tonight we've got kind of a packed show. We had all sorts of things going on this week, and the more I looked, the more I found. And this was actually some of the stuff I was working on doing last weekend when we had the sudden announcement that cash was taking over the ATF. And so we did the shakeup at the ATF instead. But yeah, tonight we're going to sort of catch up on a few things because there have been a lot of legal developments and a lot of big wins on the legal side. And so from that standpoint, we're going to definitely hit on those tonight and have a little bit of fun with some of those. I see Mary has already dropped into the chat to kick us off for the evening. Good evening, Mary. Hope you're doing wonderfully tonight. Mary used to follow us a lot on YouTube. She's now over here on Rumble. And as long as we're talking about Rumble, we have to give a big shout out, as always, to Chris Pavlovsky and the staff at Rumble and Rumble Premium. They are dedicated truly to free speech. There may be some stuff on there that you don't like, that you don't want to hear, that you don't think is appropriate, but guess what? We can have their right to say it. And that is the big thing. They support creators' right to say what they want to say. As long as it's not against the law, they'll back us. And that's a beautiful thing. And they have actually backed us against several foreign governments, including, well, France, but, that was just one in particular, Britain. They've kind of told them to go themselves. Yeah, so it was kind of nice. I see we've got Mary over in the YouTube chat as well. Minnie has wandered in. Boo, Minnie. I hope you're feeling better. Poor Minnie had a really rough morning this morning. You're welcome to put something up in the chat about it if you care to share. I'm sure everybody would love to hear about your adventure this morning. Speaking of adventures, I want to kick off today with the single stupidest thing I've read on Twitter all day. The single number one. The dumbest thing I've ever read on Twitter. All day today. Probably the dumbest thing I've seen all week this week. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. Free speech is great. The UK thinks they have free speech. Yeah. Ask Tommy Robinson about that. Ask Katie about that. Then, we can do that on the political channel. We may actually have a little fun with them on the political channel sometime. But on the Gun Club, what do they know about guns? They're having to worry about who's going to take a kitchen knife out. I think nowadays they're actually having to dull down the tips of kitchen knives so you can't use them as stabbing implements. Yeah, it's actually a new policy they're working on called Just the Tip. Yeah, that's what they're doing to their folks. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Chat from Minnie. Minnie had a medical procedure today. We'll leave it at that. Still feeling a bit rough, but probably going to bed as soon as the stream is over. Well, I hope you get some rest tonight and you feel better. I'm sure, your procedure, I hope it went well today. And I'm sure that's a load off your mind, dear. So, okay. The single dumbest thing I've seen on Twitter all day. It's probably pretty good. Yeah. This one comes from Shane T. Kasaga. I don't know what his name is, and I really don't care because he's not going to be consequential. Here it is, folks, the dumbest thing I've seen on Twitter all day. The Glock has a burst option on most models. It's the standard weapon of the NYPD. It isn't known for its stopping power, meaning some people and animals can walk through the shot and continue walking towards you. What it does do is hurt. The burst in particular, it's a torture device. I'm going to leave that up there. I'm going to let you read that again because, yes, it actually says that. The Glock has a burst option on most models. Guess all my Glocks are defective. Never seen a Glock with any kind of burst model. Standard weapon of the NYPD. Okay, that's correct. It isn't known for its stopping power, meaning some people and animals can walk through the shot and continue towards you. Depending on the caliber, yes, it is possible that you can end up being shot, especially if it's a non-vital area. That's why we teach people to shoot for the center of visible body mass, stop aggressive action, and continue towards you. What it does do is hurt. The burst, it's a torture device. Yes, yes, that's what it is. It's a torture device. Now, this person, I don't know who he is. I have no idea what his knowledge base is. He looks very smug sitting up there in his shirt and tie. I'm not quite familiar. Let's see here. We see what we got from Mel. Doesn't sound like the Glock your ex had. No, I don't think it was like the Glock your ex had. I don't remember ever seeing a Glock with a burst option, number one. And the Glock is a name brand, yes. It is a name brand of firearms. I have a couple of Glock clones. I've fired a couple of Glocks. Yes, so much wrong with this, I don't know where to begin. And this person speaks authoritatively that he thinks he knows something about firearms. Oh, folks, this to me, it comes right out with all the anti-gun, anti-2A people. If you had somebody who has never driven or sat in the driver's seat of a car writing the rules of the road and the laws for the road, it wouldn't work out really well. Yep, these people think they can write legislation that should be passed regarding firearms. Yeah, they clearly don't know what they're talking about. And again, Shane, I'm sorry for picking on you if you ever see this. I'm sorry you're an idiot. Although I will say, Shane, if you ever make it to the great upstate of South Carolina, give me a holler, hit me up. I will arrange to get you out and get you some range time. I'll even let you try shooting a couple of Glocks, and I'll buy the ammo, bro. Yeah, and I want you to show me the burst model or the burst feature on it because I've never quite seen that. Most Glocks are pretty straightforward. They've got a trigger and mag release and slide release. That's it, and the breakdown lever. But yeah, let's see here. I know it's a debate as to whether you should have to have a certain license to exercise constitutional right, but I swear they need to do IQ tests before people can vote. Yes, I'm actually kind of on board with that some days because of the fact that, remember, his vote counts as much as yours and mine on firearms related issues. Yeah. But so anyway, yeah. Over the weekend, we had the big naming of Cash as the acting ATF director, so that's great. We had Dan Bongino get named as the deputy director of ATF. Bingo, loving it. Two definitely pro-freedom individuals jumping into those, worlds. And that is a big benefit for us. Now, if you look at the little title screen for today's stream, the thumbnail, I mentioned the P.L.C.A.A versus Mexico. Now, if you read down, you'd see what P.L.C.A.A stands for. And it's actually a law. It is the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. Now, when you talk about protecting lawful commerce in arms, what does the P.L.C.A.A really mean? What does it stand for? What's the big deal about it? Well, I'll tell you. The P.L.C.A.A was actually passed back in October of 2005 under the Bush administration. He signed it into law. And pretty much what it was protection for gun dealers, sellers, manufacturers from lawsuits if their products were used criminally. Now, if a gun manufacturer has a gun and it's defective and it blows up in your hand, you can still sue them under product defect, anything like that, yes. But it provided them a degree of immunity at the federal level from lawsuits from, say, oh, a gun was used in a crime, someone got shot, I'm going to sue the gun manufacturer. Now, a lot of people go on and they will say, the anti-gun groups will come out and say, oh, gun manufacturers are one of the few people who have immunity from lawsuits. Okay. If a car, let's say a Ford Festiva or Ford Fiesta, runs through a parade in Kenosha, Wisconsin, say, just off the top of my head, guess what? We're not going to have, Ford getting sued over it. The driver is responsible, and the driver's doing life for it. But we're not going to sue Ford. We're not going to sue the dealership that they bought the car from. I mean, come on. Now, if you're a rental car agency and you rent a car to somebody who's drunk and they get behind the wheel and do something, you put the keys in their hand, okay, maybe. But if Joe Smith goes out and buys a car and 3 weeks later he mows down a bunch of school kids in a crosswalk, yes, it's awful, yes, it's tragic, but we're not suing Ford, we're not suing the car dealership. This is stupid. So yeah, absolutely crazy. I see Mel is already out here. She is pimping some serious coffee today. Yeah, Dan's favorite coffee, incidentally, as well as hers, is Blackout Coffee. They've got cinnamon French toast, Jamaican Me Crazy, all kinds of flavors. And yes, we do have a deal with them to get everybody a discount. You can use promo code Gun Club and you get 20% off your first order. And when we're looking at some of the different flavors they've got, all sorts of stuff. I know that I've tried a bunch of them. They've got just regular coffee flavored coffee, which is really jam up. But they've also got all kinds of fruit flavors and specialty flavors as well. Check out their stuff. And again, you get 20% off your first order. Check these out. We've got flavors out here for Nutty Dad's Java, Irish Cream, Blueberry Crumble. There's the Cinnamon French Toast, Jamaican Me Crazy, which is like a vanilla caramel cream, Climax flavored coffee. Not sure exactly what that is. We're not going to go there tonight. Butterscotch toffee. I've heard that's really good. Chocolate cherry. But the biggest thing I love about Blackout Coffee is they support the Second Amendment. They put their money where their mouth is. They've actually got special partner blends, and they support our freedom. They have special blends that partner with great organizations like the Firearms Policy Coalition. No Compromise, that's GOA's blend there. They've got Brutal Awakening, Morning Reaper, and several others. When you sit there and you get K-Cups or you get coffee and you're supporting the Second Amendment and they support us as creators as well and they back us, those are the kind of people I like to support. Not to mention that it's also, as Mel says, some pretty damn good coffee. So yeah, we love them. And you do get that promo code Gun Club. You get 20% off your first order. Check their stuff out. I don't think you'll be disappointed because you know what? We want to wake up in the morning and not woke up. So yeah, let's stay awake and not woke. We'll get some Blackout Coffee. Onwards and upwards. So when we're talking about this whole, let's see, Mel's got more flavors she's throwing up here. Sorry, I'm going through the chat as best I can. Candy cane, peppermint mocha, butterscotch toffee are all amazing. Yeah, I think she's tried like all of them. Let's see. We have Climax is kind of like Irish cream, really good. Not sure where the name comes from. I think it might have some extra caffeine. It doesn't have any extra caffeine. Yeah. If anyone has questions about the flavors, try it. She's tried most of them. She is all into her fruit coffee, and she really loves it. So definitely a big win for that. And again, They support us. They support the 2A community. And, buying coffee from them, when we talk about these legal wins today, and you hear us talk about GOA actually putting out a press release that the ATF just got bench slapped by a judge, yeah, we like that. When we hear about FPC winning a lawsuit protecting gun rights for people in Pennsylvania, yeah, guess what? That's a big one. And all that costs money. And if I can buy my coffee from someone who's going to, support organizations that defend my rights, I'll go with it. Personally, I like kicking off the day with a little Morning Reaper or Brutal Awakening. Brutal Awakening is a little bit darker blend. Morning Reaper is a lighter blend, but they're both really good. And again, I've got the GOA, I've got the FPC, I've got the SAF. They've got several different partner blends. So yeah, check their stuff out. Yes, I love it. Yeah, bench slapped. The GOA, we're going to look at their press release in a bit. They had some kind of fun with that because the ATF definitely did get bench slapped on it. So, getting back to P.L.C.A.A. In 2005, the law was signed into effect to protect manufacturers and dealers from being held liable for crimes committed with their products. Now, if a dealer sold something they knew was illegal, they're not protected. But if someone went through the next background check and they passed all the stuff and everything was fine and the sale went through, they had done their due diligence. They couldn't be, charged just because they didn't go above and beyond what federal law required. I mean, come on. If you go to your local big box store and you buy a kitchen knife and walk down the street and you go to a liquor store and rob it and stab the clerk, well, I got news for you. We're not going to get Farberware or, Cuisinart or whoever it was or the store you bought it from. Now, I mean, if you're sitting there talking about, I'm going to go stab someone with this, maybe. But again, why should manufacturers be, held liable for products that are being misused criminally? This would put every car manufacturer, every auto manufacturer, every car dealer completely out of business. You couldn't insure them. But we don't do it with cars. We don't do it with knives. We don't do it with baseball bats. But they're trying to do it with guns. And it was done. In 1998, Chicago Mayor Daley sued dealers and gun makers. And he said, you can't expect the status quo on business, which makes money, and have no responsibility to citizens. So the dealers and sellers who were doing a lawful business, lawful commerce in arms, they were sued by the mayor. Sounds kind of bad. The city of Bridgeport sued several companies. The mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, actually said, well, I'm just going to create law with litigation. I'm going to litigate these gun manufacturers out of business. How could you run a firearms store? How could a firearms company, Smith or Sig or Glock or anybody, Palmetto, how could any of them stay in business if they were legally responsible for their products being misused? In 2000, before this bill passed, Smith & Wesson capitulated to Bill Clinton's limiting who they were selling to, limiting a bunch of their sales. Why? Because there were multiple lawsuits filed against them. And Mel, I'm sure you can voice in here, lawsuits, even if you win them, are expensive. Here's the deal. These anti-gun attorneys will sue and sue and sue and sue, and the companies have to go through the cost to defend it. It's actually been really interesting because in some cases, things have been so bad that they've actually awarded legal costs to the defendants because these suits were so obviously specious. There was one lawsuit against Springfield Armory because a teenage boy, pointed a handgun at a friend of his. Well, the gun fires. Well, they said that, the gun was defective because it fired. No, it worked exactly like it was intended. So guess what? It turned out that we had a major mess. And yes, Karin, I agree with you. We need to put a stop to the lawfare. And that is kind of what P.L.C.A.A was designed to do. And P.L.C.A.A did a lot. It really did. And it's done a lot. We've had several suits that have been, you know, dismissed because of P.L.C.A. And as Mel says, even if you do win, you don't get your legal costs back unless that's part of the verdict. And even then, wait on appeals and they run up more expense. And they run up more expense. No business, no industry could do this. Imagine if we're going to sit there and say, well, your phone is responsible if you're texting and driving, so we're going to sue AT&T and Apple. No. This has been ridiculous, and it's been done purely to destroy firearms companies. In reading up on this, when you look at some of the stuff, there was no legislative history of it. And again, Congress was trying to protect decent, entities, decent businesses, lawful legal businesses from these vexatious litigants. Yeah. Well, I'll say, some, again, I can't paint all attorneys with the same brush. I know some that are decent, and some that are absolute cockroaches. And I know a few of them that are more than willing to chase ambulances. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of the ones, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, attorneys at law. But when we look at this, since the law's passage, there have been two cases that went to a jury for damages. In the first, a jury found in favor of a gun store in Alaska after a gun that was purchased was later used in a murder. The second resulted in a $6 million verdict against Badger Guns after guns that were negligently sold were used to attack law enforcement. Now, that one, if they were negligently sold, if they were not doing their background checks, if they're not doing stuff right, okay, fine. But the Brady Center went after the manufacturer of the Aurora ammunition. The Brady Center and the families of the victims from the 2012 Aurora, Colorado shooting sued Lucky Gunner, the online store where the ammunition, some of it, was purchased. Yeah, they ended up ordering the plaintiffs to pay Lucky Gunner's legal fees. Well done. In 2016, a Missouri gun store had to settle for $2.2 million. They sold a gun to a woman who was schizophrenic, who later killed her father. Now, they turned out that the sale was negligent because of the fact that they had reason to know the woman was schizophrenic, and they had video of her acting kind of off the chain. And also, they had employees testify, quote unquote, that, how should we say nicely, management said if it passes a background check, it sells, never deny anybody. And so, they end up losing a verdict. And in cases like that, I can kind of see it. But you can't have, the victims of Sandy Hook in 2012, they go in 2016, they file a suit that gets dismissed against Remington. So from that standpoint, it's unbelievable that they're still doing this. And again, from that standpoint, P.L.C.A.A protects a lot of this. But P.L.C.A.A was a federal law. It didn't do anything to help at the state level. So if it ended up with an interstate issue that the incident happened in this state and the manufacturer was in that state and it was sold in the third state, it would usually get thrown up to federal court and give you a little P.L.C.A protection. But P.L.C.A never applied in the state courts. So unless something made it up to the federal level, it didn't do much to help us. Well, recently, Congresswoman Harriet Hagemann from Wyoming and Senator Mike Lee from Utah have both instituted an upgrade to P.L.C.A, and they're trying to get it amended. And what they're trying to do, again, I'll read you the background of it. Representative Hagemann stated, anti-Second Amendment activists have long used lawfare as a weapon to attack constitutional rights. Throughout my time in Congress, I've consistently defended law-abiding gun owners. This legislation enforces commitment to ensuring radical gun control advocates cannot hurt manufacturers by filing politically motivated cases in state-level courts. And what they're trying to do is they've basically strengthened this, stating that anything that potentially implicates P.L.C.A.A in the state court automatically gets referred up to the federal system. So, from that standpoint, they're definitely trying to protect it. And that's a big deal because we're seeing more and more suits come in the state court. Yeah, it's definitely trying to basically attack citizens. Intended to discourage manufacture and selling to citizens, a backdoor to removing two-way access. It is. And again, it's, ideologically motivated to a point. It's greed on the other side, Mary, you're right. What they can do is, hey, go through, trash us that way, and work from there. Well, Cardinal Flair, I think you know where I'm going, and you're just a hair ahead of us here. So we've got this amendment to the P.L.C.A coming out, and again, they're introducing the Protecting, Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, trying to upgrade it, strengthening legal defenses against these frivolous lawsuits, and that will definitely be wonderful for our gun stores, our manufacturers, our dealers, wonderfully. But I said P.L.C.A versus Mexico. Where does Mexico come in on this? I haven't mentioned Mexico much recently. Well, as you may have been following, a little while ago, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, said that he was going to designate certain Mexican gangs and Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. Why? Because that opens up a lot of options as to how he can handle them. They're no longer just Mexican, crime rings. They are actually international terror organizations. Let's face it, they're shooting across the border. They're flying drones across our border. They're smuggling all sorts of stuff across our border. Humans, fentanyl, just to name a couple. Well, guess what? When he named these 13 cartels as terror organizations, which opens up a lot of options for the DOJ and the DOD to deal with them, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum pushed harder for Mexico to sue our gun manufacturers, particularly Smith, I believe, also a couple of others. And what they're doing, these lawsuits, they are alleging that Smith & Wesson, the manufacturer, knowingly sells their guns to distributors who knowingly sell to dealers in California, who knowingly sell to people who are smuggling guns across the border. So she is trying to blame the cartel crime in Mexico on our gun manufacturers and sue them into oblivion. Well, fortunately, P.L.C.A kind of prevents that. And she's actually doing it in state level courts to try to dodge P.L.C.A. So now what are we doing? They're actually working on the upgrade for P.L.C.A to prevent that. Now, it's really kind of interesting here, and you've made the point here, and we're sort of going to backtrack into the chat. Yes, the more they disarm us, the more the cartels can dominate us like they have in Mexico. And I feel bad for Claudia Sheinbaum. She actually is, their president, but she also has like a husband and a child. And well, let's put it this way: they're at risk. She's at risk if she crosses the cartels. Yes, we, the U.S., are training the Mexican Marines. It may come back to bite us, or it may not. I don't know. Honestly, here's the deal, Mel, and I'm going to give her a little bit of grace. The cartels have run Mexico and have become so efficient in Mexico. She's behind enemy lines. If she does not take up for the cartels, they'll take her out. They'll take her family out. I mean, let's face it, being the president of Mexico, your life expectancy is not that good if you offend the cartels. She can't do anything against them. I hate to say it, but it's going to take work from our side of the border, in my opinion. For what it's worth, I think Pete Hegseth, we're already flying Reaper drones over Mexico, spotting fentanyl houses and tracking and everything else like that. There are U.S. Reaper drones. Now, they are not armed when they're flying over Mexico, i.e., they don't have their typical payload, their Reaper payload on them, but they are using Reaper drones. So it's a half step up to arm them with their usual destructive cargo. But they're already scoping out fentanyl houses, grow houses, things like that on that side of the border. They're putting the maps together of what to hit and when they're going to hit. And I'm pretty sure that Pete Hegseth, DOD, is going to be giving a report to Donnie J and, work from there. I don't know if they've got any blue roofs. That's a good question. Very good question. I don't know, sir. Quite frankly, or ma'am. Far be it from me to assume your gender. Welcome aboard tonight. I don't recognize the name, but love to have you on here with us in for the chat. But yeah, we are at the point that what's going on that side of the border is affecting us, and that's why they were named as issues. Understood, will comply. But that's why they were named as terrorist organizations, because of what they were doing, because of the craziness that they're doing. So yeah, Claudia Scheinbaum has now turned up the heat on our gun manufacturers. Harriet Hagemann and Mike Lee are pushing to strengthen P.L.C.A.A. to protect them in the state courts, to protect our manufacturers in state courts. When our elected officials, our representatives in D.C. do something stupid, I call them out. When they're doing something decent, I want to call them out. And so from that standpoint, it's wonderful. Well, and I'll agree 100%, sir. No one's forcing them to purchase or consume their drugs. Well, and the bad thing is, some of these drugs that are coming out, when we're seeing home pressed pills on the street left and right. I work full time in the emergency services. I've had to Narcan people since the first of the year for homemade pills, home pressed pills. Someone thinks they're getting, something from a buddy of theirs, and it turns out that it's chock full of fentanyl. Apparently, when Cracky McCrackerson is making it in the back bedroom of an apartment, there's not a lot of quality control. When I teach this class, the EMS, I always say the same thing as far as, here's the deal. If you've ever had a chocolate chip cookie, you get a whole box of chocolate chip cookies. Some of them will have 8 chips in it. Some of them will have 10. Some of them will have 12. Yeah, guess what? Some of them have like 8 grains of fentanyl in it. Some of them have 10. Some of them have 12. And if they're not mixing it up very effectively, guess what happens? Yeah. You can see where that would happen. And, I understand on that one, definitely. I will just say this. There is, people can get their life together. I've had more than one heart-to-heart in the back of the truck with somebody and saying, dude, do you know how close you were? I got to grab you by the scruff of your neck and drag you out of the pearly gates tonight. And it might not have been the pearly gates. I don't know how warm it was where you were, but I'm just going to say, okay. Cracky McCrackerson is the one who's making pills in the back. Pookie and Ray Ray are the ones who are selling blunts on the corner. Just saying. Work with me here, Mel. Work with me. But yeah, there's just not a lot of quality control in it. And let's face it, I'm, upstate South Carolina, so we see all sorts of fun concoctions here. We get our, our little Mexican Americans. We get our homemade pressed pills. We get enough green stuff, more than you can shake a stick at. And, I hate to see someone's family member check out, because honestly, as much as we've tried, we've had more than one, like I said, more than one Narcan since the first of the year. And it's ugly. And, when it's killing 100,000 Americans a year, problematic. So, yeah, we're going to hopefully be able to deal with that and work from there. So that is where we're talking about P.L.C.A.A. in Mexico. Now, I said there was also going to be some good news, some really, really good news. And I have got a lot of really, really fun news coming up. Well, part of it is, we'll talk about what is going on with the GOA. Now, the GOA is the Gun Owners of America. If you're not familiar, absolutely fantastic, wonderful, organization, and they do great, great things for us. Well, they had a lawsuit in Texas. If you remember, the ATF passed this wonderful decision of what engaged in the business of selling firearms was. Now, it used to be a individual had to be predominantly engaged in the business or derive a predominance of their revenue from, selling firearms. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, even if you sell just one, depending on if you made any money on it or what the deal was. So let's say I have an AR that I've had for years. And I've done a bunch of tweaking and customizing on it and added some parts and swapped out some components and made some really nice stuff. Well, you and I go to the range, you shoot that AR, and you say, you know what? I'd love one just like this, but I don't have the time to do all the work you did on it. And for me, half the fun is doing the work on it, is tinkering with it, is building it. I love doing that stuff. It's, love to sit at the bench and spend an afternoon working with my hands, sit there and build something really cool. So you say, I want to buy that from you. I quote you a price on it. You say, hey, great deal. I'll buy it. Am I a gun dealer? Do I have to have an FFL? Am I dealing guns without a license? Did we just commit a federal felony? In the old school, private sales are private sales. As long as I don't know the fact or have reason to know that you're a prohibited possessor, I can sell to you. Now, I may choose to say, hey, let me see your concealed carry permit. You show me your permit. I say, hey, you're legal. Or if you've got 5 other guns, I'm really not too worried about it because you've already got 5 other guns. So, hey, whatever I decide is good enough. Under that, engaged in the business, I actually became a manufacturer of firearms. I was actually engaged in the business without a valid FFL. I just committed a federal felony, and you did too, from buying from an unlicensed dealer. This was ridiculous. Well, again, it was an ATF reinterpretation, much like they did with the pistol braces, much like they tried to do with the, you know, hold your traffic, Miss Many. I'm on it. I'm on it. Um, well, there was a lawsuit brought up in Texas, and the GOA actually won the suit. And they got basically blown out and said, no, this is administrative overreach. You can't just reinterpret things, like crazy. You know, the crime should be determined once the crime has been committed, regardless of the tool. Okay, that's reasonable. But so now what has happened is we have, these guns. I want to sell a couple of my guns. Maybe I need extra money. Maybe had a fellow instructor one time was going to a class, hit some debris in the roadway, tore up 2 of their tires, got to the class and said, what really stinks is I just blew my savings on these 2 pistols. I liked one of them. I paid cash on the barrelhead. It was a fellow instructor. We're both get our regular colonoscopies from the state law enforcement division, so it's not like it's a big stretch for us to be able to do it. We're both satisfied that neither of the other is a felon. So, engaged in the business was bullshit. GOA had won the lawsuit. The government tried to appeal. Well, when the government appeal was pending, we had a slight change in the White House and in the ATF leadership and the Department of Justice leadership, and the Donald sent out a memo, and the senators, 30 of them, signed a letter to the ATF. You may have caught that on the weekend shakeup about the ATF. Well, ATF came out and tried to request a stay or a delay so that this thing could still be pending and still be out there in, the world. Well, The GOA said, no, no, no. We want this appeal. If you're going to do it, we want it done now or we want it closed out. We either want this stricken from the books or we want the appeal right now. Justice delayed is justice denied. This has been going on since you passed this administrative rule. We got the injunction, which protects all the GOA members. We want this rule either stricken or we want the appeal heard right now. The judge who got that said, you're right. And so chances are this is going to be going very, very quickly in front of a judge instead of waiting and delaying and trying to drag it out, which was really interesting because, again, the ATF now is like, well, we want to hold off and see what we're going to do about this, and we'll just leave it out there in limbo and hang it over people's heads. No, the GOA said, no, we want this either. If you're going to appeal it, appeal it. If you're not. If you want to drop it, do whatever you want to do. We want it dealt with now. And the judge said, you're right. There's no reason to leave this hanging. So that was a big decision from that judge on behalf of the GOA. Chances are, knowing the way things go in Texas, yeah, this is going to be blown out of the water. Big win for the GOA. So again, they not only got the injunction against enforcing it against their members, but they also were able to potentially get it ripped back out of the books. Sir, you have a great question there. How difficult would it be in theory to make the laws black and white and eliminate interpretation bias? It would actually be very easy. And the rule of lenity would actually say that it should be that way. And the rule of lenity basically says, for lack of a better version, and Miss Many in the chat is our paralegal over here, so he's over there. She is. Okay, right there in the chat. The rule of lenity says if a law can be interpreted two different ways, it must be interpreted in the setting most favorable to the defendant. I'll read it again. If a law can be interpreted two different ways, it must be, for purposes of court, interpreted in the setting or in the context most favorable to the defendant. So, again, a vague law should be interpreted in the defendant's favor. Now, in theory, the problem we come into is the people writing the laws are exactly innocent until proven guilty. And again, when you're proving someone guilty, it's got to be using the law or the interpretation of it most favorable to the defense. Now, here's the problem. And I learned this in medicine a long time ago. The people writing the laws are not subject matter experts. Look, I'm not going to throw rocks at all the Congress people or all the state house people, but I will say this. I've worked in emergency medicine since the early 90s. I understand a lot about what EMTs and paramedics and different medical terminologies mean and procedures mean. So we have a situation at that point whereby you have a medical situation come up about, say, DNR laws in the state, and you have people running crazy trying to figure out what this medical term means, because this one was elected and is a lawyer, this one was elected and was a car dealer, this one was elected and he's the hometown hero from the football, and again, I'm not throwing rocks at them. They don't always understand what they're talking about, and they don't always have a subject matter expert nearby. That was one reason why, when prior to Cash being named as acting director of the ATF, that was one reason why I said I wanted to see like AK Jesus, Brandon, I want to see him, or someone like Mike from Guns and Gear, technical subject matter experts, someone who can actually tell these people what it means, because it's not always the most clear in a situation. Let's see. How can Leos take a person's firearms after they've used them in a defensive situation? Technically, They're only taking it at that point as evidence in a potential case. I've known people who have gotten them back within weeks. We had someone I knew who was involved in a lethal force encounter. He ended up firing one round, um, took out a gentleman who was holding a teenager at gunpoint. This gentleman put one on the bad guy's neck. Didn't work out really well for the bad guy. He ended up going to his great reward, and the gentleman got the pistol back, or the revolver back, within about 6 weeks, I believe. It was 4 to 6 weeks. They did run it through the crime lab and everything else, but a lot of times you'll get it back. It's just they've got to run it through the crime lab. It may be at that point possibly evidence in a possible case, and they just they need to be custodian of it to maintain chain of custody. The last thing they'd want is somebody with like a 1.5-pound hair trigger going and changing out a spring to make it an 8-pound trigger, and changing something like that, or changing the barrel of the ballistics. But concept proposal. Can we try out AGI interference as judge to eliminate personal biases? Sorry if off topic. Can we, the people, refuse to give up that firearm and escort it? I don't know. I would say state by state at that point. Again, it's at that point, if someone's going to have the presence of mind to want to, again, escort it to the test firing, I can see the concept. I don't know as far as AGI interference as judge to eliminate personal biases. Okay. AGI interface. Can you be more specific? And I'll try to come up with something on it. And as far as being off topic, hey, we're talking gun laws tonight, so hey, I'm all good with that. Not a problem in the world. Artificial general intelligence, AI. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. And again, I think I bring up the case of the medicine stuff because we had a situation in a state I worked in for a while that we were told that if a patient had a DNR, you could not put them on a cardiac monitor defibrillator. Well, when a patient passes away, the way we make it official is by putting the leads on and confirming absence of a heartbeat. But we couldn't do that if the patient had a DNR because we couldn't put them on a cardiac monitor defibrillator. So at one of our statewide meetings at the Association of Paramedics, I brought up a question of, can we get something rewritten in the regulations about, we can do it to, interpret that the patient is actually deceased. And the state rep looked at me and he said, honestly, it would take an act of Congress. I said, why? This is simple. This is easy. He said, no, it's not. When the state passed the DNR law, there was a list of procedures to be restricted. That was one of them. I said, well, who would say that you can't do the most common thing a paramedic would do? Put the stickers on to confirm flatline. That way we can notify the coroner or hospice or wherever. And they're like, yeah, here's the problem. The people who wrote the law saw cardiac monitor defibrillator and said, if someone has a DNR, we don't want you shocking them. I said, okay, fine. I won't shock anybody. I just want to put the stickers on and get a flat on so I can make it official. Well, my EMT default. Circumstances dictate procedure. That's the best I can tell you on that one. Is very much a circumstances dictate procedure. They did a study years ago. Some of the people who had jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco who survived, about 80 to 90% of the ones who survived the jump said that the first thing they did was regret jumping. I've seen plenty of people who have attempted self-deletion, tried to revoke their own birth certificate, and have like turned around and been like, I was just totally out of control. Thank you so much. You know, everything had hit them and maxed them out to that point, and then they did it, and then they woke up in the back of a truck because somebody called or somebody was able to Narcan them after they took a fistful of who knows what. Yeah. So from that standpoint, you know, circumstances dictate procedure. Now, if they've attempted to delete themselves and no, they regretted their jump. They actually said that on the way down, they're like, "What the hell did I just do? I don't believe I just did that." And then they ended up surviving their jump, and going, "Wow, I don't know how that happened." So, but yeah, if someone has attempted self deletion, and let's say hypothetically that you know they've used a 357 Magnum in their mouth and parts of their head are on the floor. I just really kind of wonder, at that point, you know oh wow, there's still a rhythm. Yeah, but this is incompatible with life. We're not saving anything here. On the other side of the coin, if they've tried to do it and they've just missed and gone in and like out one of the sinus cavities and they're talking to me, different scope. So yeah, circumstances dictate procedure. And yeah, as someone who's dealt with, you know, I lost someone close to me due to suicide, and I'd like to think that if someone had been there to address it and deal with that and pull her back from the gates, that she would have appreciated it. So from that standpoint, you know, yep, well said, sir. Very well said. Yeah, very well said. But okay, so that was our Texas case. GOA is basically going to force the ATF's hand, litigate it or drop it, tear it up, or either stand by it or get rid of it. And the court backs GOA, and that's where we say, yeah, they got bench slapped. They put in for a stay, a temporary hold on it. Let's figure this out. We'll get around to. No, you put this out. You threaten people with it. Now, either stand by it or drop it. So we'll see how that goes. I have a feeling Texas is going to deal with that real well. So that's the big GOA win in Texas. Now let's move to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania enacted a regulation or a law of their own whereby they had a ban on people between 18 and 20 carrying during declared states of emergency. And they had all their good reasons and their rules and why it should be done. But unfortunately, it didn't work out real well for them, apparently. Why? Well, because the Firearms Policy Coalition, our FPC friends, and we're going to bring this one up on the screen so we can enjoy it here. Let's see. Let's see if I've got that one. No. Let's see. I'm going to try to pull it up here. I've got more tabs open than you can imagine right now because there is just a lot of stuff going on right now. Here we go. FPC. The Firearm Policy Coalition continues fight for the 2A rights of young adults in the new federal lawsuit challenging the Pennsylvania carry ban. Well, Second Amendment lawsuit challenging Pennsylvania's ban on the right to bear arms as to young adults. Now, they were going after 18 to 20-year-olds. Well, the defendant, of course, is Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Colonel Christopher Paris, litigation counsel, and it comes all the way through. And as you can see, this started back in 10 of 2024. They got an order 11/18 of 24. They then came back for the plaintiff's briefs, and it was appealed, post remand back, and we got an opinion right about here. We have this opinion comes out from the Circuit Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. And I'll read the big one of it here. Let's see. Let's see. For the foregoing reasons, and having considered the Supreme Court's analysis in Rahimi, we maintain our decision to reverse the district court's judgment and remand with instructions to enter an injunction. So they're enjoined, they're stopped, they can't go forward, forbidding the commissioner from arresting law-abiding 18 to 20-year-olds who openly carry firearms during a state of emergency. So they tried to put this law in and they were enjoined from it. They got the injunction saying, no, you can't go forward with that law because you're infringing on their rights. Now, the state tried to appeal it to en banc, which is the whole group instead of just 3 appeals judges. They tried to get the whole Third Circuit en banc. They refused to even hear it. They basically said, no, we've already judged it. It's done. We've dealt with it once. It was stupid when we dealt with it the first time. So, boom, there you go. But, so that one is a big win for our FPC brethren up in Pennsylvania. And it's a big win for 18 to 20-year-olds. Think about it. During a state of emergency, imagine, snow and ice storm, or, you're having to, flooding, or you're having to walk to a convenience store or a gas station. You're 18 to 20 years old. You can get married, you can buy a car, you can sign up to serve your country. But you can't carry a firearm? Agreed. Yep, well said, sir. You're on the same track as I am. 18 is old enough to go to war for the country. It should be old enough to purchase firearms and engage in self-defense. Yep. And that's where I'm really proud that South Carolina went with 18 years of age for our, we can get, we're constitutional carry, but you can also get your permit in South Carolina at 18. So, yeah. But, yeah, the petition for rehearing en banc are denied. Yeah. But this one, these gun grabbers are very, very much, anti this. And the question is, I don't know if they're going to want to take it for, want to try to go after this to the SCOTUS. And the reason is, like we mentioned the other day, all these things, this is going to affect Third Circuit. The stuff down in Texas, it's going to be, I believe, Fifth Circuit down there. If they go to SCOTUS, this is going to become the next Bruin case that's going to be quoted nationwide. They know kind of where the SCOTUS sits after watching how Bruin went. Well, it's not so much that. It's funded by guys like Bloomberg and the anti-gunners. These are, the commie mommies. This is, moms demand action. Yeah, moms demand our actions. Maybe if someone would satisfy these bitches, they'd get off my guns. But, just saying. But yeah, like I said, it's not so much the RSDAs as much as it's, you look at some of the overarching gun laws that they're trying to pass in Arizona and New Mexico that are written by Mike Bloomberg, who, his last political adventure running for president was, trying to, he was mayor of New York. So yeah, the former mayor of New York is writing legislation or is funding a group, to do this. And, all I can say is apparently some of these women may have some personal issues. Maybe if we got the commie mommies a little bit more action, life would be better. But for now, we just have a bunch of running around. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely a big one. Yeah, I'm sure there is some of it that is funded by USAID. Not a doubt in my mind. That is the biggest claptrap in the world. In fact, somebody was saying that USAID did fund anti-gun research. I'll have to come up with a link on that. I'll try to bring it up in the next time I do a stream. But yeah, our tax dollars were going to fund taking away our constitutional rights. You gotta love it. Yeah. all I can say is let the Doge out, let them play, let them have fun with that. So yeah, so that one again, big win for us. And so I never get tired of these wins. I never really do. Um, I do have one really interesting thing that came across today. We're not going to be getting into this one tonight, however. And the reason I say we're not getting into it tonight is, well, we're on YouTube tonight. And if you didn't notice, one of the things I have to, deal with when I'm on YouTube is I have to be a little bit, just a hair, maybe a touch, politically correct. So I can't really go totally down some of those rabbit holes. But, every now and then I find something interesting that I just want to share. So I will tell you this weekend, there's going to be probably a stream. I don't know exactly which day it's going to be because it'll depend on my work schedule, but we're going to be covering this lovely young lady and her trying to plant an explosive at a Tesla facility in Colorado. This is a woman caught trying to plant explosives at a Tesla. So, oh, Mr. Scott, awesome. Great to see you. Um, honestly, it does okay for me. It helps me sometimes with, getting more exposure out there. But yeah, we put everything on Rumble. But yeah, this lovely young lady, yeah, she was the one who tried to plant the explosives at the Tesla facility. Yeah, you just can't unsee some things. And her name is Lucy Grace Nelson. Yes, Lucy Grace. Baby got her first dress. You just gotta love it. So I agree. I agree, sir. Yeah. Somewhere out there, there's a village lacking their idiot. But yeah, there's Lucy Grace, who went out and vandalized the Tesla factories. Oh, Lucy, such a unladylike action, really. Gotta say it. But yeah, you have to know that one was, yeah, we're going to be talking about that as well as a few other real spicier topics on a Rumble exclusive stream this weekend. Because if I say what I want to say about that, we kind of know that YouTube will stroke out. But hey, why not? It could be fun. You know. So now we're going to go on a little bit further. We had another big win. Many people received letters in the last couple of days from the ATF regarding rare breed triggers. Now, if you were made aware of rare breed triggers, they were basically a company that sold a certain style. They were a brand that sold forced reset triggers, FRTs. Well, back in July of 2024, Judge Reed O'Connor from the Northern District of Texas, one of our wonderful people, he's right up there with St. Benitez in California. Judge Reed O'Connor came out with a judgment that these forced reset triggers, even though they reset and you fold it again, it was not a single function of the trigger. So it did not equate to an automatic firearm. It happened very quickly, right in the shadow of Cargill v. Garland, when Michael Cargill was determined not to be, when bump stocks were determined to be not automatic weapons. Judge O'Connor said at the time, and this again is July of 2024, said, look, these are not automatic weapons. These triggers do not make it an automatic weapon. Well, it is being pushed for appeal by the ATF if they continue to do so. But at the same time, Judge O'Connor gave the ATF a 6-month deadline and said, ATF, you have 6 months for everyone you notified, because they sent out nasty letters that you've bought this and it's an automatic weapon and you need to destroy it. You need to turn it in. You need to answer us. We can kick down your door. We can do this. You've got an illegal automatic weapon. Well, he said because these things had gotten so much PR by the ATF out to the people who were on the list of having purchased them, guess what? He said, no, you've got to, if it's not adjudicated within 6 months, you've got to send 6 months to send them a letter stating it's okay to have and you're wrong. So, yes, the ATF sent out letters this week saying, yeah, we're sorry about that. Our determination's kind of been thrown in the trash by Judge O'Connor, and we've tried to appeal it, but no one's like taking the appeal up yet, and we're not sure what's going on. So we're sorry about that nasty letter about your felony conviction that we're threatening you with and everything. Yeah. Now, well, that's not a big deal. Watching the ATF have to say they're sorry for something, yeah, I can enjoy that. I can enjoy that a little bit because you know what? That was one of those things that, yeah, sorry about that. Oops, did we overstep our bounds? Yeah, Judge O'Connor just said we did, and we're really sorry, and we're not going to do anything like that anymore because we're kind of like in trouble now with the judges over that. So yeah, there is our latest two-way legal update, and we have had, like I said, it has been a wild time. It has been a wild ride, and all I can say is I'm enjoying this. I am really enjoying this more than you know. Because you know what? I know that he said we'd get tired. I'm not tired yet. Are y'all tired? Let me know in the chat. Are y'all tired? I'm not tired.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We
No,
can't
I
take
want
it
more.
anymore.
I
Mr.
want
President,
more.
it's too much.
More.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired.
Yeah, I am definitely not tired of winning. All righty. Let's see what we've got going on in the chat here. Oh, let's see. Mary, now, far be it for you to say that Lucy Grace is not a lady. We're just not going to go there. We can't have content like that. Yeah. Do the judges, they do to a point get updated. I know our local judges have to go through periodic judicial conferences on new state laws and new things coming down. I also know that a lot of it gets published out in our state. The thing is, when a case goes to court, they're going to have people arguing on both sides of it. At that point, whoever the attorney is on our side, or GOAs or FPCs, whoever, they're going to be able to say, here's the precedents we're working on. This is all this. So that's going to be the big one there. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, Mel. Yeah, not tired of winning. Not at all. Yeah, keep them coming. We've watched Cargill v. Garland. Boom. We've watched 2 or 3 of these engaged in the business as shot down. We're having a blast. So I am definitely 100% on it. And no, I don't think I'm tired of winning. I'm definitely not. Okay. I'm going to say the same thing I said last night when we were talking about a certain individual, if they're a male or female. Look, I ain't stripped him down and checked him like a puppy, and I really don't want to. So we'll leave that at that. Yeah, exactly. As Mel says, attorneys will cite the case law in their briefs, and the judges' clerks have to research them. They'll go through and they'll say, hey, look, this case is really on point. It's like a lot of the same fact pattern. And this case over here, well, no. And so, again, it depends on what cases are cited to outline the precedents that they're working under. But yeah, call like I see it, definitely. But folks, I definitely appreciate y'all coming out tonight. I have had a wonderful time. And again, I'm not tired of winning. I'm really not. And I know, this weekend, chances are, if you follow me on Rumble, because, again, we've got lots of places you can follow, and I'll go ahead and I'll put do a little research work off this weekend, so should have a little bit of time to do some reading and some research. But from my standpoint, I enjoy it. I do this stuff because I love it. Again, let's see here, trying to find. There you go. If you're looking for more information about something or anything in particular, you can reach out on X or Twitter, Facebook. I'm back and forth occasionally. Locals. A lot of our documents I publish to locals. Anytime I have a big something, I try to put big posts up on locals, because sometimes I'm not going to read a 52-page court decision, but I can throw it up there if you're looking for something particular. Of course, our Rumble library's got all of our videos, and you can always email me, mike.southeastdefense@gmail.com, because, again, we're here, we're having fun, and that's why we started this. Have fun, share the good news. And if you want to support the channel, hey, just to let you know, you can share our stuff out, follow the channel. Rumble rants are always appreciated. We've got PayPal, or hell, just go out and get yourself a damn good cup of coffee. Because after all, you've got Second Amendment Foundation. You've got the 2A, Guns and Gadgets. You've got 1776. You've got the GOA, No Compromise Blend. Because why? Well, let's face it, we love good coffee here. And if you can't tell, I've had plenty of good coffee today. And with promo code Gun Club, you get 20% off, and they throw us a little bit of a kickback too, so that's always nice. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I hope you've at least gotten a little something out of it for the time you spent with us. I have enjoyed it. And let's see here. To let you know, yes, I do freeze a little bit at this point. We are in the process of upgrading the studio. I don't know what happened, however, but we have a small issue right now because of networking issues here at the house. We're in the process of upgrading the network, but it's going to take a little bit of time, effort, and energy to get over to it. But well, thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated. Big Rumble rant thrown in there by Carnal in Nature. Okay. Definitely appreciate that. Much appreciated, sir. We really do appreciate people coming out. And again, check out our other streams, check out other videos. We're here because we want to be. We're here, we're doing it because we love it. So y'all have a wonderful evening. Please be smart, be safe, because the world's gone a little bit crazy out there. And if you can't at least do that, we can laugh at some of the stupidity, because trust me, there's more than enough out there. And here's Tim Walls trying to load a shotgun.
Yeah, that's my theory, and it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap, because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Yeah, okay. Now, if he bought it when he was shooting a lot of trap, you'd think he would be a little bit smoother with it than that, but that's just me. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we can get a girl to teach him how to do it. How about this one? Four at a time. Two more. Two more. Two more. Yeah. And I think that she's a little bit more competent with that shotgun than he is. That's just my opinion. What would I know? You know, I try, you know. All righty, and I will leave you with this because this, as y'all know, is one of my favorite songs.
Up and down, counting out, smiling through the taste of blood in my own mouth. I got bruises and broken bones, but they don't know I ain't in this ring alone. I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I was born to be do or dyer, a make it rider. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in that last bet, 'cause I hit harder when I'm tired. I'm a fighter. I get back up. That's what I do. I didn't soldier on this far just to lose. So take your shot. Is that all you got? I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I was born to be a do-or-dyer, a make-it rider. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in that last bet, 'cause I hit harder when I'm tired. Yeah, I'm a fighter. Oh, no one can keep me down. They didn't know, but they know now. That I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider.